I broke some of my biggest cruise rules by going on this cruise, and what happened really surprised me. Hi, I'm Kristen from the bargainchasingtourist.com. I've been cruising since 2000, and I actually worked on cruise ships for 5 years. And like most seasoned cruisers, there are certain cruise rules I live by to avoid those mistakes that can really impact your cruise. But sometimes breaking out of your cruise routine can prove to be worthwhile and may change the way you cruise.
Cruise mistake number one is flying into your embark port the same day the cruise leaves. When I worked on cruise ships, I definitely encountered a handful of guests who flew in on embarkation day and then were without clothes until their luggage was able to catch up to them in one of the cruise ports. This, along with missing the cruise altogether, definitely makes me lose sleep at night. And I think any seasoned cruiser would argue that you should fly in at least a day before the cruise.
However, I broke this cruise rule when I flew to the port of LA from my home in Arizona on embark day and was able to board the ship with plenty of time. I also flew to Seattle the same day without issues. Avoiding a hotel stay and extra meals and transportation can save quite a bit of money. I wouldn't recommend flying from the US to Canada on the same day, and I certainly won't be flying to Florida on the same day. But if you live close enough for your flight to be less than 3 hours nonstop, and you're on the first flight of the morning, it could be worth saving the money.
The next cruise mistake is cruising during the summer, with the exception of Alaska cruises. I never used to cruise during summer. Why? Because summer cruises are more expensive, they're packed full, and at least in the Bahamas and the Caribbean, the ports in the summer are hot. There's also lots of kids, and they're not all well behaved. Now, I'm a mom, so I'm one of those people bringing kids on cruises. But like most adults, I want to relax and not hear other people's kids scream and run down the halls. So, why did I make the mistake of cruising somewhere other than Alaska in the summer? Well, now that my child's in school, our vacation dates are restricted by a school schedule, and summer does offer the most opportunity to cruise. It also gets really hot where I live in the summer. So, when July rolls around, I'm ready to get out of the desert and go someplace with water. So, I cruised last July, and plot twist, I'm probably going to cruise next July. Not everyone is going to agree with my next cruise rule, which is avoiding cruises that are less than 7 days. But hear me out. 3 and 4 night cruises barely allow enough time to see the entire ship, let alone get to experience everything it has to offer. Half of my time working aboard cruise ships, I worked 3 and 4 night cruises. And as a crew member, short cruises felt impersonal. I would interact with the guests and then never see them again on the cruise. So I definitely preferred the 7 night cruises to be able to connect with guests and not feel so rushed. I hadn't taken a short cruise in over 20 years until I broke my own cruise rule and went on this 4 day Navigator of the Seas cruise. And I have to say, it definitely was a great time, despite being less than a week. It was a really nice summer getaway from the heat, and also I didn't have to take that much time off work.
I love cruises to see new destinations and revisit favorite places, so the ports are a major factor when I choose a cruise.
I think it's a big mistake to take a cruise with ports that you have no interest in seeing, or so I thought.
I visited the Mexican Riviera and Ensenada extensively in my years of cruising, so the Mexican cruise ports are not on my bucket list of destinations.
But like I mentioned before, when the 118-degree days in July got to me, I didn't care where the cruise was going.
My family walked around Catalina Island briefly on this cruise, and then we stayed on board the ship on Ensenada Day, which was amazing. We had the pools and hot tubs to ourselves for several hours.
While I don't think it's a good idea to make it a habit to never get off the ship, sometimes cruising to a non preferred port and staying on board the ship is more enjoyable. The last cruise mistake is not making plans for on board the ship or out in the ports. Of course, you want to make plans before the cruise so that you don't miss something that's important to you. But that wasn't the case on this cruise. I broke this unwritten cruise rule because the purpose of this cruise was to unwind. Other than the plans to get to and from the ship, I didn't want to stress about the in between. And guess what? It felt amazing. This was possible because this was a short cruise with ports that I wasn't truly invested in, but I still had a fantastic time on the ship and I wasn't trying to cram so much into a short amount of time. So, making some cruise mistakes and breaking a few cruise rules actually made this cruise better. And you know what? I'm probably going to make the same cruise mistakes again. So, do you agree that these cruise rules can be broken? Let me know in the comments. I'm Kristen from thebargainchasingtourist.com, and if you like this type of cruise content, make sure to like and subscribe. And I hope to see you at sea.